So I had the realization lately that I have this thing called a YouTube channel, and I can make videos on super niche things that I believe aren't getting much attention. I know, crazy. Bonkers bananas, some might say. Algorithm be damned. And let me tell you, I don't think there's a game that's come out in 2021 that deserves this type of video more than CyberConnect 2's Fuga Melodies of Steel. A title which I'm going to recommend to you all right from the get-go. I'm not kidding, go down to your local Tesco Express and pick up a copy. It's really, really good. And just to be extra clear, this video is not a sponsored thing. I'm not being paid under the table for this. It's just the first time in a fair number of years that I've seen a game come out that I know people would get a serious kick out of, but no one is talking about it or even acknowledging its existence. And this is a channel first, but I even managed to get an interview with the game's director, Johan Gerito, who has very kindly given me a lot of insight into the game's behind the scenes and even allowed me to use basically any asset I needed, which is incredibly generous. Thank you very much for the opportunity. So before I begin, I wanted to acknowledge the fact that my upload rate has slowed down in 2021. I've noticed this as well, and I'm trying everything I can to change that. 2021 brought some health issues my way that has made stuff a little complicated, but I'm focusing on recovering both mentally and physically so my schedule can naturally fix itself. In the meantime, thank you so much for your patience. I really hope you like whatever stuff I do release, even if it takes a little longer to come out. And if you really do miss this fucking face, you can find me streaming regularly on Twitch. Name subject to change, but go follow me there if you want to vibe out in chat. It'll be great to see you. I think everything should be just fine.
Are you sure about that?
Now, for those of you who might not be aware, Fuga Melodies of Steel is actually part of a pre-established collection of games known as the Little Tail Bronx series, and this is without a doubt CyberConnect 2's passion project. The very first game they ever developed was Tail Concerto, and over the years, in between Dot Hack games and motherfucking Azura's Wrath, they would expand the Bronx series slowly but surely with varying degrees of success. But no matter what the sales were like, end of the day they still had faith in this universe, and eventually in 2021, we would get a prequel title. That title being Fuga, a game set in fantasy France, otherwise known as Gasco, which is littered with two types of people. The Kaininu, a humanoid dog race, and the Felineko, who tear up your staircase despite there being a perfectly good cat tree that I built for you with 12 functioning scratching posts. Your lust for chaos is unprecedented, madam, but my God, I love ya. Now, according to Johan, inspirations for Fuga are largely inspired by the works of Hayao Miyazaki, happiest man on the planet. Such titles like Castle in the Sky, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, Howl's Moving Castle, and finally, Sherlock Hound. This is where I'm sure you can imagine the anthropomorphic, oh my goodness, I can't say it fast. This is where I'm sure you can imagine the anthropomorphic, God damn it. This is where I'm sure you can imagine the anthropomorphic inspiration sprang from. Yes! Or more commonly referred to as the kimono style in Japan. Over here it's definitely parodied a lot more due to internet culture, and Johan even admitted to me that this particular style might not be super appealing to a lot of websites. That combined with the fact that Neo The World Ends With You and the Ace Attorney Chronicles released in the same window of time, it's no massive surprise that Fuga underperformed as it did, which safe to say was disappointing to the development crew. I'd say if the style is putting you off, try your best to go outside of your comfort zone and give it a shot. Ratchet & Clank, Sly Cooper, those are good games, right? A good game is a good game, regardless if there's a furry little bugger contained within. Now, I'm going to describe the tutorial segment of the game first, and everything included within it was explained in the trailer. But if you want to go in completely blind, I'll drop a spoiler warning here. Click the timecode, you know the drill, 3, 2, 1. The region that these Kaininu and Felineko inhabit is currently under siege by a fascist regime known as the Burman Empire, who are ransacking any village they come across with no apparent rhyme or reason. The children of one village, known as Petit Mona, decide to follow a mysterious voice over a radio after their loved ones are captured and taken away. This voice would eventually lead them to a forbidden cave that they were instructed never to enter. Desperate times call for desperate measures, however, and upon entering, they stumble across a tank. This tank is unlike any other tank the children have ever seen, easily towering over all of the tallest buildings in the village. They cautiously enter it, and upon its activation, they learn from the voice on the radio that this is the Taranis, an ancient weapon that can and will rescue their loved ones so long as they work together. This immediately goes tits up when they're cornered by Colonel Pretzel, who laments the fact he has to attack children, but this is war, and difficult choices need to be made. The Colonel makes swift work of the Taranis due to the children's inexperience, and this is where each child feels a pull, a compulsion to go into the lower deck of the Taranis. The game lets you pick a child, and I decided to go for Molt. The leader of the gang seemed like the most obvious pick. Your child of choice follows this otherworldly pull and finds themselves at a strange pod. They enter, and suddenly the tank comes alive as a massive cannon is readied and fired, completely obliterating Colonel Pretzel and his battalion. During the celebration, the children ask a very important question. Where is Molt? At which point the voice over the radio chimes in like,
right, so, a bit awkward. You know that Molt kid? Little furry fella? Oh god, how can I say this? Okay, have you ever watched that movie, All Dogs Go to Heaven? Yeah, okay, good. That makes my job a little easier. He wandered into the soup room, you see, and the big beam you all saw was his one-way ticket to paradise. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. And need I remind you that we just won? Don't hold back the confetti and backflips for my sake. I'm kinda busy doing my own thing up here. Peace out, kids.
As this crippling realization dawns on the rest of the kids that their friend was sacrificed to charge what the voice over the radio calls the soul cannon, they're all hit with the depression debuff and can't bring themselves to fight. This will lead to a game over and a restart where things might be different this time around. Will you accept defeat and get a game over, or will you sacrifice one of the children's lives to continue progressing?
Will it blend? That is the question.
So, there you have it. That is the basic premise of Fuga Melodies of Steel. Yeah, I see you playing this game, you cheeky little bastard. And there are a ton of concepts that play out in this game that genuinely affected me. The needless hatred of persecuting someone due to their race, the horrors of war, and the crimes that are committed to what they believe is the greater good. People being indoctrinated and twisted to believe that the path of bodies and blood that they walk is true and pure. And whilst these concepts alone were enough to capture my attention, and thankfully there are moments where you can breathe and not be bogged down in a swimming pool of tears, I'm very happy to announce that the gameplay was enough to lock my attention firmly in place. Right, so gameplay is split into two segments. The first is the tank itself, which progresses forward on a track which can split depending on your choices. These go from safe, normal, and dangerous. You crush crates like the mighty boot of a giantess and get a variety of items inside, ranging from scrap, meat, items that you can use in combat, and of course, instant healing. When you reach a Berman sigil, you're thrust into battle where each child is handed heavy artillery and an unquenchable thirst for blood. You have a bar which shows when each character, including enemies, will take a turn, and you'll also notice that enemies have these little colour-coded icons next to their health. This means a specific child will delay an enemy's attack on the ATB. Cannons take care of red, grenade launchers take care of yellow, and machine guns take care of blue. Because there are so many children in the roster, you need to have some as backup and some manning the artillery. Ones in the back row serve as minor buffs and support. For example, having Sheena in the back row will increase your SP by a tiny amount with each hit, and having Hana as a support will regenerate your health with each hit. You can also swap out characters with a 3-turn cooldown, so it's not like you're stuck with a set party on your journey, which allows for some fun experimentation. Finally, once certain parameters are met and depending on who is paired with who, you can unleash a link attack, a powerful joint technique which can be your saving grace in many situations. There's also hero mode, which is effectively a limit break. For example, Boron over here can break enemy shields completely and delay them no matter what number and colour the delay symbol has. Wapper's normal attacks can hit twice in a row, and all of Kyle's attacks turn into critical hits. As I'm sure you can guess, each weapon tends to specialise in certain things. Cannons are chunky damage dealers but have lower accuracy accuracy to compensate. Grenade launchers are good at placing status effects on enemies and having decent overall damage. Finally, machine gun wielders have pinpoint accuracy with the weakest overall damage, but are perfect for dealing with aerial enemies. You'll find them indispensable when an enemy rolls around with armor, which is indicated here, as they have techniques which can chip away at it and leave them vulnerable to a swift cannon blow. But please don't forget that you have actual petit bébé that are controlling a fuck-off huge tank. Because if there's anything I know about babies, is they aren't necessarily the happiest when you drop them off in the front lines. There are status ailments that only affect the children, such as fear, which lowers your accuracy, injury, which means if they're injured again, they'll get knocked out, a knockout will mean you can't use them again until a break, and finally there's depression, which means they won't be able to use any skills. And of course, let's not forget the ever-looming soul cannon, which will power up when the Taranis reaches low health and will tempt you to use it whenever it's online.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Do you sacrifice someone to the meat grinder, or do you do what I did and reset the game like a coward? So as you can see, there's a lot more going on in Fuga's gameplay that meets the eye, and from my experience, it flows very nicely and never gets irritating. Eventually you'll reach a level of synergy with the cast and will swap characters in and out with barely a second thought, all whilst being pushed forward by the game's stellar OST by Chikayo Fukuda. It reminded me a lot of Hitoshi Sakamoto's work from Final Fantasy Tactics fame, whilst injecting enough originality to feel unique to Fuga, especially for songs which incorporate choir or solo singers. Depending on which language you choose, either French due to the game's fantasy setting or Japanese, the choir's language will change, which was a seriously nice touch. And the boss music worked perfectly for the situation in hand. You aren't supposed to be fired up and ready for an epic fight. You're meant to feel the impact of these innocent kids needing to take someone's life in order to protect their loved ones. In fact, it was this song that inspired me to play this game in the first place. But thankfully, there are slight moments of reprieve which are found in the intermissions, which can not only help you upgrade the Taranis, but also get to know the characters a little better. Speaking of, I haven't introduced the cast yet. There's a lot of them, so let's keep this snappy. Malt Marzipan and his sister May Marzipan, Hana Fondant, Boron Brioche, Sox Million, Kyle Bava, ooh, that's a word. Oh. Hack and Chick Mont Blanc, Sheena Falafel, Gin Macchiato, Whopper Charlotte, and Brit Strudel. Now please excuse me as I have a sudden intimate craving for some fucking confectionery. So overall we have good, small, good.
Here comes the boy.
Melvin, Brat, Gremlins, Small, Spanners.
Dude, what's all that stuff you're grabbing? Tools! Tools! Duct tape, zip ties, and gloves! I have to have my tools!
Here comes the
Boy! Hello, boy!
And Dougie. Controlling one of these characters, you can explore the Taranis and accomplish various tasks so long as you have enough AP. Firstly, you can talk to each member and raise your affinity with them. A higher affinity means stronger link attacks and can also unlock these nice cutscenes which explore the characters' personalities a little deeper. This is welcome since the cast is so large, it's kinda difficult to focus on every single character during the main story and give them meaningful screen time. Talking to kids can also cure their depression, boy if that only worked. You can plant crops on the miniature farm and use them to cook meals, which give all of the characters buffs until the next intermission. Sleeping in the dormitory can cure kids of their injuries. Doing the laundry will boost two characters' affinity by a massive amount. The workshop can upgrade weapons, health, and SP by using materials found on the battlefield. And you can also go fishing for scrap if you feel you're a tiny bit under what the weapon needs. Now, something I neglected to mention is the fact that a lot of these tasks have a success percentage, which gets lower the higher level you get. This doesn't change the fact that failing a 95% success rate twice in a goddamn row makes me want to pack up my shit and live a technology-free life in the country. Look here, CyberConnect 2, if that is your real name. I love this game, but there's something real fishy about me failing 75% and 85% as much as I have been. The conspiracy goes all the way up the corporate ladder. Also, thank you for letting me interview the director of this game. Please don't blacklist me. You can also stop off into neighboring towns where you can collect items from civilians and can even trade weaker items for stronger variations and vice versa. There's even this cute comic book that is completely optional to read, but it's still a nice inclusion. If anything, it would be nice to have an option to see what items the Taranis needs for an upgrade, because my memory and attention span is not big enough to remember, and I legitimately don't know if I'm trading stuff I need and receiving stuff I want. And finally are the expeditions, which allow you to control a character using this thing called a game controller, hands them a toy gun which still works as a lethal force weapon, and allows them to delve into ruins which give you even more materials to upgrade each facility within the Taranis. These segments were fine and added another layer to the game, but they weren't the most complex things in the world. Just be careful of traps and monsters and everything should be just fine.
I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
Now this next segment will contain spoilers for the overall lore of Fuga, and I kind of need to bring it up in order to talk about New Game Plus. So here's a spoiler warning if you want to experience the world building by yourself. Click this timecode to skip ahead. Has your mouse run out of battery? Do you need a few more seconds? Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. The world of Fuga is extremely engaging and fun to figure out. Turns out that thousands of years ago, humans existed and wiped out their own species using bioweapons known as Titano Machina. Fast forward to the future and dogs and cats have evolved into the world's next humanoid-like species, and humanity is little more than a legend. Through New Game Plus, you can actually unlock pieces of lore that expand this world's universe and find out how humanity collectively tripped up and fatally fell down the stairs. That is interesting, and I love how it gives you the option to play the game again and find this stuff out for yourself. I do have a slight problem with this, however, and it really boils down to the difficulty. It's far too easy on your second run. See, the game restarts with the exact same power level that you did at the ending of your first run, and enemies aren't scaled to match your power. So yes, whilst the lore is worth it, I think if a new game in the Little Tale Bronx series comes out, giving New Game Plus a little more oomph will more than likely hold my attention a lot more. Other than that though, I'm happy that the mode exists in the first place. So, Fuga. I think you should all play Fuga. It's very clear that CyberConnect 2 made a risk making this, and so far, despite being one of the best reviewed games in the company's history, it's still not reaching as many people as they would have hoped. In my interview, I asked Johan to give me a little insight into self-publishing, and here is what he had to say. Self-publishing was a lot harder for the team than they initially thought. QA, testing, localization, promotion, communication, talks with the many manufacturers, Sony, Nintendo, etc., putting the game on every store, handling DLC, etc. Everything the publisher usually does, we had to do it ourselves. But it was also very interesting as we learn a lot about the industry and stuff we usually don't care about. And finally, I asked for some parting words. I hope your audience will give Fuga a chance and support us, as it really is a passion project for us, and I hope we'll be able to make many more in the future. Wink. As a lover of JRPGs, I really hope to see more games set in this world's universe, since, I admit, I've fallen in love with a lot of the characters and races, and I really hope they continue this style of gameplay in the future. Maybe with multiple character models instead of a singular tank with a more open method of exploration. Not that the singular tank is bad, I loved it a lot, but it'd definitely be nice to see something different from this team, where they can evolve and nurture the feedback that was given and make something even more incredible. Before I move on to the final segment, I'd first like to thank some patrons. At this point, I'm a broken record, but it bears repeating. I appreciate you guys so much, and seeing so many of you still enjoying my content after all this time makes me very happy. Some of those patrons I'd like to thank are Ben Palmby, Celia, Claire Grant, and Adam Mathewson. And finally, I'm very happy to show you all, with permission from the game's director, a couple of light-hearted anime shorts known as Fuga, Melodies of Steel. A very nice introduction to some of the characters, and are all available for free over on CyberConnect 2's YouTube channel. If you like these, then go check out the rest of them over there. Thank you again for watching, and please enjoy.
僕の名はソックス。年齢は10歳。僕は犬人なのです。そして僕には夢があるのです。それは僕の考えた最強のマシーンを開発することなのです。
武器なんかより羊牛たちの毛を簡単に刈れる機械を作ってよ。
洗い物がすぐ乾く機械があると助かるんだけど。マルトやハンナ、友人たちにはあまり理解が得られないのですが、やれやれ。先日手に入れた素材がとても万能だったのですよ。
なるほどな。
なあなあ、何の話してんの？ソックスってば。おーい。
いつものメカトークさ。お前らにとっちゃつまんねえ話だよ。
なんだ、じゃあいいや。
ソックス、もしかしてお前女子が苦手なのか？
なのです。女子がいると口がギュッと閉じて動かなくなってしまうのです。
でもハンナとは平気で話せているよな。
あれソックス、今日もメカ作り？
ハンナこそザ女子って感じじゃねえか。あれはどうなんだ？
ハンナは村にいた時から一緒でしたし、女子と思ったことはないのですよ。ハンナかな？
鼻につく言い方だな。一発殴ってもいいか？
ジンはメカに強いだけではなく筋力もある。僕もジンのように筋力をつけることができたら、設計と組み立ての効率が良くなるのではないでしょうか。心臓に負担のかかることはやめるに限るのですよ。
2人の名前はチックとハック。とっても元気な犬人の女の子と男の子です。俺がハックで、私がチックだよ。2人はいたずらが大好き。いたずらを仕掛けるハックに偵察役のチック。いっしししし。やばいよハック。ねえハック。
おいチックにハック。そこで何しているんだ
？2人はいたずら名コンビです。
お前たち飯抜きにするぞ。
やめようといつも言ってるだろ。
ごめんなさい。
本当に反省してんだな。
いただきまーす。ハック大丈夫？なあなあハック知ってる？しゃっくりが100回出ると死んじゃうらしいよ。90回目だ。ほらあと10回だよ。ハック。
こーらわっぱったら脅かさないの。ハックのそのしゃっくりはね、食べ過ぎや早食いで胃を刺激したことで起きた横隔膜の痙攣なの。だから死んだりなんかしないわ。
難しい言葉がたくさんでよくわかんなかったけど、よくわかったよ。いてて。大丈夫かチック。安心しろチック。今俺がハンナ姉ちゃんみたいに手当てしてあげるからな。ごめんよ、ハンナ姉ちゃんみたいにできなくて。いいの。ハックが手当てしてくれたからもう痛みが引いたみたい。ありがとうハック。チック。
茜色に染まる空、一筋の雲がただひたすらにまっすぐ悲しい季節へ風は歌い流れる、清らな魂運んでいつかの草原さ、実りこその香り、空は変わらずに遠く高く澄み渡る。白く小さい花ひとつひだまりに咲いて、優しい心を思い出す安らぐひととき、残酷な運命も変わる未来信じて、見つけた幸せは両手でそっと包む、彼方に輝いてる星は知っている。笑顔がこぼれる太陽のもと、つな